the method of landscape architecture to feed our dreams. So we created the Alliance for Rural Impact. And when Rachel called and asked us to be here today, I was like, well, we don't do a lot with historic preservation, but we are the community liaison for the Opportunity Arkansas, which focus on the opportunity zones in the state of Arkansas. So I'm going to do a little shameless plug for ARI, and then I'll let you know about the opportunity zones, and Adam is going to discuss how those historic preservation tax credits can feed in with new markets tax credits, and I think there's probably like 20 or 30 more that feed that. So we are an organization that was created in 2017 by myself and my business partner, Jennifer Watkins, who resides in Eastern Oregon, another place that has a lot of really nice bike trails. And so the reason we formed this organization was because when we met, and right before I met Martin, or right after I met Martin, I guess, I became the Deputy Director at East Arkansas Planning and Development District, and we did a 12-county regional planning grant. And that took into account everything from Clay County all the way down to Phillips County. And I saw, after growing up here, what I thought I knew the Delta was, but getting to work intimately in these communities, I had no clue. So, coming from a healthcare background, I shifted to a community development future. And so we have the Alliance for Rural Impact. And so we focus in the Arkansas is where we're based, but we also work in the Mid-South. We do quite a bit of work in Texas. And we do all of this work in other areas so that we can feed our passion for the Delta. I do live in Harrisburg. This region and the Big Woods Plan are projects that we want to invest in. The Alliance for Rural Impact, ARI, we call ourselves for short. We are an emerging CDFI, a Community Development Community Finance Institute, so that we can invest into these regions and into some of these projects, into these communities. So we address the generational issues of resource depletion, population and demographic shifts, economic distress and stagnation, that lack of access to capital, and the shortage of capital. And really, we focus on not just the communities, but the businesses within those communities, because we identified that working and building up the existing workforce, the existing businesses in these communities really does lift up the community, again, so that we can stabilize some of these communities and redevelop. So you have to understand the rural economy, which most of you in this room do. It's about the out-migration. COVID truly hit the rural areas even harder than some of the other areas. The effects are going to last longer. The workforce shortages are going to be catastrophic, which they are in some places. And so we were already looking at our technical assistance for these businesses and communities, but again, when the pandemic hit, it accelerated that. And so we have moved into helping communities to think creatively, which is kind of where our work with Martin comes in and other consultants around the country, is to think creatively and to adapt to your existing assets, those underutilized assets in a community and within businesses as well. Those natural resources are human capital, which is probably one of our greatest things here in the Delta. The community strength, and of course our culture. So when we talk to communities and to businesses within those communities, we talk to them about adapting to change, welcoming innovation, which isn't always welcomed in some small towns. And so we look at this, again, two ways. The community focus, we help them assess their strengths, their strategic priorities, the investability of some of those projects. Once we've identified those, we help them to implement those projects and identify those resources to get them done and the development of them. Then we stay kind of long-term. ARI is long-term investment, long-term implementation. We stay there to build the capacity, to build the structures. We are hopefully going to be there long-term for those additional capital needs, and of course to promote within. And that's our community investment model that feeds the Rural Impact Fund, which is what we are doing. Let's do this real quick. Okay. Our other focus is the business focus, that automation, which we refer to as process modernization. And for business, we've narrowed it down to these 10 true models, processes that we can help businesses implement. They're interventions that mix the asset investment and the technical assistance. We help businesses identify the resources to implement these. These can be front-end automation, which can be as simple as computer systems, inventory management, back-end processes, and even full-scale robotics. But we also maintain through this entire process that we work with the workforce. It's imperative that we work with the existing workforce so that they can be trained, they can be paid a higher wage. Some of these jobs, they're dangerous, they're menial, they're physically taxing. So if we can remove some of the pain points for an owner or a business and move their workforce out of some of those more dangerous menial tasks, move them to a higher paying job, let the robots or the automation fill the dangerous parts, we find that as a win. When we pay people more, they become more comfortable, they become healthier, they invest in their community, they reinvest in their community. That's our model there. So how does that kind of lead into us talking about historic tax credits? Well, our community focus is why we applied for this with Windrock. And so our team now consists of Windrock International, who leads the Opportunity Arkansas initiative. It is between them and AEDC, the main two. The Alliance for Rural Impact serves as that community liaison, going out into the communities, doing just what we're doing today, educating, helping identify projects, promoting those. And Adam and Chris Travis, who both are with Gill Ragon Owen, they do the extremely technical stuff. You do not want me talking about taxes. So again, we are an initiative of AEDC and Windrock to build the capacity of local leaders to develop these investable projects that bolster small businesses and revitalize economically insecure communities. All the focus of ARI and Opportunity Arkansas. This project that we are working on is funded by the Delta Regional Authority and Winthrop Rockefeller Foundation. And again, we are here to educate and do outreach. We provide technical assistance to communities once we've identified those projects. There are 85 zones in the state. We have assessed all 85 zones, and we are working with those community leaders to develop those projects. And then Adam and Chris, they review and they do the due diligence. So when we looked at the 85 zones across the state, if you have a history with opportunity zones at all, they are an investment arm for investors. I'm gonna let Adam be more technical about that. And so communities were at a loss of how opportunity zones could benefit them. And truly historically they have benefited more urban areas. Opportunity Arkansas wanted to see if we could benefit the more rural areas because of the 85 tracts, probably 90% of them are rural areas, extremely rural areas. So we looked at the zones to identify where these projects were. A majority of them were entry level because let's be honest, in rural areas we don't have a lot of strong infrastructure in place to have project ready projects for investors to come in and lend their money to. So we assessed all 85, were they entry level, were they project ready, or were they investment ready? This is kind of a walkthrough of what we did. We would partner with Adam and Chris to identify if there were any potential projects that could have layered investments with them. It was very technical. I'm glad we had Adam and Chris. ARI assessed what projects were even viable. So, for instance, Forrest City here. I think Adam's going to talk about that. There is the potential for a hotel to go in an area of Forrest City that's designated an opportunity zone. There's nothing sitting on that land. How do we get the land from the rightful owners into the hands of an investor? And so it's about layering all of those little pieces. I'm not going to say a majority, but there is a high percentage of opportunity zones that lie within some of our historic downtowns. And so that is where we think there is the most opportunity for the rural areas.
Can I ask?
Yes.
Do those overlap the historic districts, and do they?
Some do, and some
complement each other?
They do, and some actually overlap with New Market tax credit areas. Batesville's one of those. Pine Bluff is one of those. I'm sure there are more, but those are the two that we've identified that have the three. Investment ready projects, there were only a few. A majority of the projects that have been done were done in Bentonville and Springdale. There have been 2, I believe, done in Little Rock. The Walton family, the Hunt family, and Tyson have done pretty much all of those, with the exception of one housing development in Little Rock. So in order to promote the zones and the projects that we've identified, Wright developed the Opportunity Arkansas website. That is a site in which viable projects are loaded into. Investors and community leaders can seek out projects through that site. Investors can also go to that site to identify any areas of opportunity. This is a picture of the 85 tracts within the state. A lot of those are over here in the Delta and in southern Arkansas. Poinsett County, where I reside, has none. I don't think Lee County has any, and Helena has some, of course. Community leaders, individual landowners can submit potential projects through the Opportunity Arkansas website. There is a tab to submit your project pretty much on every page that you're looking through, whether it be a partner, community, or an investor page. And you do not have to have all of the information. If you have land that lies within one of these census tracts, you are welcome to upload it so that we know there's the land available, that you are willing to either sell or to have that land developed. And so, because of some of the regulations I'm sure Adam will talk about, there's not really a legal reason to report the projects that have been done through the opportunity zones. So this is our way of trying to keep up and engage the local communities to upload their projects. And so now the more technical side of this and how to stack incentives and credits, I'm going to turn this over to Adam Reid.
that were on white on that map, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So, except for maybe Forrest City here, that was about the only one. So Harrisburg's not in one of them?
Poinsett County does not have one, no.
Or Cross County either?
No, Cross County doesn't, Lee County does not. I'll share some of these.
What is the reasoning behind it?
Those were, so,
I've got a few maps.
community leaders, you do.
It's, but if you have an economic development, like, group, there's no reason why you should not have it. And
Well, yes, the communities were asked to submit their low census tracts. They did, and then there was a committee that chose and made recommendations to the governor. And those were the tracts that were chosen. They cannot be changed. They are what they are. Will we get new ones? We can hope.
Even Lone Oak doesn't have one. Lone Oak doesn't have one.
I was about to say, we're pretty,
Because he's gonna look like
Perturbed?
we don't like the way that went down, so.
Yeah.
that. A lot of people don't.
Well, some of them, like, I think Lee County, which didn't have one on there, like, really, in every measurable way, needs an opportunity. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of questionable zones out there. Brooklyn, and West Palm Beach. But I'll get into that. So, okay, my name's Adam Reid. I am a tax attorney. So, you know, this is a tax law, right? Studies have shown that the average attention span in a seminar is about 7 minutes, but the average attention span when you're talking about tax, I think is about 7 seconds. So I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I can if you want. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to interrupt and jump in and just let me know. It goes a lot. It helps with the attention span, I found. This, and if you're wondering why I became a tax lawyer, I started law school in 2005 when everything was great, and then graduated in 2008 when everything was not so great. So I, 2007, but okay, what's going to be around? You know, how can I get a job? So I chose death and taxes, and here we are again. So this past, and Chris and I have been making the rounds in the state for the last 3 years, talking about opportunity zones, and just now is it really starting to get some traction. So here's the map of Arkansas's opportunity zones. Like Jeannie said, the governor was allowed to designate up to 25% of the state of the census tracts as zones based on certain criteria. And, you know, the governor couldn't draw these lines. These were based on 2012 existing U.S. Census tracts. That's why they're shaped the way they are. That's Arkansas. Okay, so here's what I'll be talking about. I think I'm gonna rush through some of it. There's a lot of material here, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of regulations. So this started out as a 2-page law. You know, if you just real quick, how tax laws are made. You know, they're supposed to originate in the House Ways and Means Committee, but this was shoved in with the 2017 Tax Act. So it was a law, you know, by the Senate, really. Put 2 pages of law in, saying, hey, here's this new tax break that we're going to give. And then, so that was passed December 31st, 2017, right? So it became a law, and you could use it, but no one knew how to use it. After the tax law gets passed, it's up to the Treasury to come out with regulations, saying, okay, here's what this law really means, here's how you use it, here's how it interacts with all the other parts of the tax code, and here's some parts that are just too confusing, so we're gonna just give you some safe harbors. So if you're close enough, you're okay. That's what a safe harbor is. There's a lot of safe harbors in this. So the law came out on basically the beginning of 2018. We didn't get any regulations until October of 2019, and that tranche of regulations was about 80 pages. And then the next tranche of regulations came out April 15th, or maybe it was 14th, 2020. And I remember that because I was giving a presentation that next day, and that tranche was 772 pages. And my wife is an accountant, so that was a long night. Okay. So I'm going to briefly just go over the background of the tax incentive program, and go over the tax benefits, how it works. Then I'll go through some fun examples and explanations instead of just reading the regs, and talk about how this layers on with historic tax credits, and then we'll get into, probably gonna skip this number 4 because it's really boring, and then go to number 5, how to what steps communities and community leaders can take to attract some of this capital into their communities. So instead of using the words qualified opportunity 1 million times, QOZ or zone is, when I say that, that's the qualified opportunity zone, those zones that you saw on the map. Qualified opportunity fund, that's a fund. That's how we'll get into that. QOZB means a qualified opportunity zone business, and QOZBP means qualified opportunity zone business property. Very different than the qualified opportunity zone business, as we'll see. So here's a list of the counties. I think the gentleman in the center had a question about this. And these slides, we'll email them, so if anyone wants this. And this is on AEDC's website. So, yeah. What county were you asking about? Was it Lee County? Cross County. So, no, I don't think so. Yeah, only about 11% of Arkansas is in a zone. Puerto Rico is about 90%. Go figure. So like the landmass. You blow it out, here's the whole United States. See Puerto Rico down there? It's totally blue. And then, yeah, there's Arkansas, and here's Forrest City's zone. Forrest City's got a pretty big zone. So, lucky you guys. I think the first presentation I gave, my partner and I, we were giving it, and we asked the crowd, it was in front of the Arkansas City Managers Association, we asked, how many people live in a city that has a zone? And about 10% of the people's hands rose, and then right after that, about half of the crowd walked out. So Forrest City has one, so we're good. So you guys are staying. Okay, so here's the timeline of what happened. So this idea was actually started by Sean Parker of Napster and Facebook fame, right? What it is, it's a tax incentive. So, how many are familiar with 1031 exchanges? No? Like-kind exchanges? So it's a tax incentive. So back in the global financial crisis of 2008, right, the economy sank. And then from 2008 till now, or through 2017, wealthy, high net worth individuals' stock portfolios went up while lower income communities lagged, So this tax incentive is designed to get capital gains, get money out of people's portfolios and into this poor community. This is, in the tax world, this is very exciting because you have two, it's not often that tax policy really can do some good, like how you can't deduct child support, but you can deduct alimony. Like, What was the reason? Now you can't even deduct alimony at all. But I digress. So in 2016, kind of the idea started, and then 2018, the initial regs were passed, and then final regs in 2019. And then March 2020 was the start of the pandemic. So now you've seen people's stock portfolios just go way up. And we've been seeing a lot more activity and interest in this program because people are loss harvesting. For a while, people were scared of the capital gains tax rates going up, so they started selling off. So this is a way. What this does, what this program does, is someone sells stock that's gone way up, right? And I think I'll get to that later. First, just some kind of shocking numbers about this tax program. So this is how much has been put in so far. And when Jamie mentioned that we don't know how much is put in, she's right. This is Novogradic's. It's a private accounting firm. They offer kind of like what Opportunity Arkansas is doing. They let funds list on their site and kind of self-report how much they've gotten, but people don't need to do that. So we don't really know how much has been put in. There's a study done that said this publicly reported amount was actually, you can multiply it by 4 or 5. So as of September 30th, 2021, about 20 billion has been put in. Oh, and we just got a GAO report that said 29 billion has been put in according to the returns that have been filed so far. In the tax credit world, that's a lot. So this program has only been in place for what? So 2018, 19, 20, 21, about 4 years. The new market tax credit, that's been around for about 20 years. In their first 4 years, I think they had about 4 billion total, and they're capped at 4 billion annually. So if you multiply 29 times 4, 120 billion, 120 billion. That's a lot of money. So what it is, and when I say invested, if someone wants to take advantage of this tax incentive, they have to say they have $1 million gain. They have to invest it in a low-income community and actually improve the community. So when I said this is at an intersection where it rewards and gives a tax break to individuals, it also helps lower-income communities improve. So it's kind of like a game of hungry hippos. When I mentioned Puerto Rico, a ton of money is flowing down there. Our goal in Arkansas, how can we get outside investors and even investors in Arkansas to invest in lower income communities? And sadly, most of the investment has been poured into urban areas, Brooklyn, Little Rock, Hot Springs we're seeing, but I do know one in West Helena, and that's a zone. That is a nice big zone. So, what type of projects has this been funding? Residential mostly. In the beginning, before we had any regulations, the law made it appear that this was just a real estate play. So, I got started with this tax incentive because one of our large clients said, "Hey, what's this new law